Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we take some fascinating sources and, well, really dig in to pull out the key knowledge you need. Quick, thorough, no overwhelm.
Exactly. We know you want to grasp the bigger picture, understand the context.
And today we're tackling the history and theory of product design, our source. Excerpts from Design History, Theory and Practice of Product Design.
It's all about understanding the DNA, if you will, of the objects all around us.
Right.
How did they come to be this way?
Right, we're not just going to list names and dates. We want to uncover those crucial shifts, maybe some surprising facts, and those aha moments that explain why things look and work the way they do.
So where should we start this big story?
Well, the source points out something interesting right away. Design is like the talk of the town now in the 21st century.
Yeah, it's funny how relatively recent that widespread recognition is. Businesses, institutions, they all see how vital it is now.
It's almost become invisible because it's everywhere. The source highlights this explosion in visibility, publications, media, trade fairs, museums.
Like the Neue Sammlung in Munich, opened in 2002. A real landmark, signifying that cultural shift.
So what does that tell us? That we're looking at everyday objects differently now.
I think so. It's moved beyond just pure utility. There's an appreciation for the thought, the skill, maybe even the artistry involved. Design shapes our lives, our culture. It's not just function.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And this appreciation, the text suggests, it builds on something fundamental. Learning to see, seeing by comparing.
Uh-huh. A concept the German Werkbund picked up in the 20th century.
Sounds pretty basic, but maybe profound.
It really is. It's about active analysis, not just passive looking, comparing, understanding strengths, weaknesses. It's conscious observation. That became, a cornerstone for modern design thinking, how to intentionally make things better.
It makes you think about those early moments, the first big splashes, the Crystal Palace, London, 1851. The source calls it a prototype of industrialized construction.
Oh, absolutely key.
Why was it so significant?
Well, think about it. Built in 4.5 months, using prefabricated parts. It just showcased the sheer potential of these new industrial methods. Large scale, impressive, fast, efficient. It was a glimpse of the future, really. How mass production would change everything, including design.
Which brings us right to the Industrial Revolution itself. Mechanized production, automated looms, steam engines, prefab construction. It just transformed everything. Life, work.
Completely. But it wasn't all smooth sailing, was it?
No, the text is clear on that. It was a double-edged sword. Massive innovation, yes, but also huge social upheaval.
Poverty, the rise of the proletariat in often grim conditions, massive environmental changes, factories, urban sprawl.
Yeah. And it's within this complex, sometimes messy context that the source says we find the real fathers of design.
Exactly. So these early figures weren't just thinking about aesthetics in a vacuum. They were responding to these huge industrial and social shifts.
Trying to create useful, maybe even beautiful things within this new reality, grappling with the challenges.
Precisely. Responding to the challenges, trying to find a way forward for objects in the industrial age.
And a prime example of design meeting mass production early on. Found its chair number 14.
Ah, the classic.
50 million sold by 1930. And you can still buy it. That's incredible longevity.
It really is. It was just this perfect marriage of, elegant design, the bent wood look, and incredibly efficient production.
And didn't they ship it flat pack?
They did. Another revolutionary idea, made it affordable, accessible. It really kind of democratized good design, didn't it?
Okay, so moving towards the end of the 19th century, the deep dive shows this emergence of new styles all over Europe. Art Nouveau in France, Jugendstil in Germany.
Modern style in England, secession style in Austria.
Yeah, a lot going on.
What ties them together? The source mentions a shared artistic joie de vivre.
Yeah, I think that captures it. It was a reaction, perhaps, against the perceived coldness of early industrial stuff. They wanted to bring beauty, craftsmanship back into everyday things.
So flowing lines, organic shapes, rejecting rigid historical styles.
Exactly. Different looks in different places, but that same spirit, bringing art into daily life. The text flags Henry van de Velde in Belgium as a key figure here, a leading proponent.
Very much so. He wasn't just designing things. He was writing, advocating for this new direction. He really believed in the artist-designer's role in shaping a better, more aesthetically rich world.
Which then sets the stage for something more organized, perhaps. The German Werkbund, founded in 1907.
Right. This was a really deliberate effort.
What was their goal?
They brought everyone together, artists, craftsmen, industrialists, even journalists. The mission: improve the quality of mass-produced goods.
So, bridging art and industry through collaboration, education.
Exactly. elevate design, function, for the benefit of everyone, the consumer. It was quite forward-thinking.
And the Weissenhof Siedlung estate in Stuttgart, 1927, an example of this new thinking applied to living spaces. It mentions Jacobus J.P. Aud.
Yes, a major showcase of modern architecture and design. Top architects creating this model community. Functionalism, clean lines, efficient spaces, a huge departure from traditional housing. Aud was a key figure embodying that new aesthetic.
But interestingly, around the same time, you had the Vienna workshops, craftsmen designing furniture, but mainly for the upper middle class.
Right, so a slightly different path running in parallel. The Workbund aimed more broadly at industry, while the Vienna workshops were about high-quality, handcrafted items for a more elite market. Emphasis on artistry, meticulous work.
Okay, now a really pivotal moment, the path leading to the Bauhaus. It starts, in a way, with Van de Velde again, his arts and crafts seminar in Weimar, 1902.
Which evolved into the School of Arts and Crafts by 1906.
How did that lay the groundwork?
Van de Velde's work in Weimar established a new kind of design education, blending practical skills with artistic principles. It set the stage, you could say, for the more radical vision of the Bauhaus.
And then, 1919, that school merges with the Academy of Arts. Enter the Staatliches Bauhaus Weimar, with Walter Gropius in charge. The text calls it the flagship for design development. That's a strong claim.
It is, but arguably justified. The Bauhaus just revolutionized design education. Its impact on architecture, art, product design, it's global and lasting.
What was the core of that revolution?
This new teaching approach, integrating art, craft, and technology, emphasizing functionalism, a unified design vision across all fields. You still feel its ripples today.
And the teaching staff Gropius assembled. Lots of influence from abstract and cubist painting, apparently. Except for Gerhard Marx, the sculptor.
Right, that was a deliberate move, bringing in fine artists. It signaled a shift away from just pure craft. They were focused on fundamental principles, form, color, materials rooted in modern art, believing that was essential for designing effectively for the industrial age.
So the Bauhaus really hammered home the functions of products, the surroundings of the people using them. And even though it wasn't around forever, we can talk about a distinct Bauhaus style, right?
Definitely. Think functionality, clean lines, geometric forms, no unnecessary ornament. Embracing modern materials, modern production. Aiming for a rational, objective look that serves the user's needs.
Following in that tradition, we get the Ulm School of Design, HFG Ulm, founded in 1953. Max Bill, a former Bauhaus guy himself, was the first rector. He talked about a new humanism.
Yeah, what did that mean exactly?
Well, Bill wanted to bring ethical and social dimensions into design. The designer's responsibility, basically, creating things that genuinely serve human needs, contribute positively to society. It went beyond just function or looks.
Interesting. And Gropius himself gave the inaugural speech in '55, talked about the artist's role in democracy, balancing the practical and the aesthetic.
So maybe that hints at a tension already present within the Bauhaus legacy. It wasn't all pure function.
Perhaps. Gropius certainly stressed the aesthetic side, the artist's vision. That balance became a key point of discussion, evolution, after the Bauhaus.
The first lecturers at Ulm were big names. Otto Acher, Hans Guglo, Tomás Maldonado, clearly carrying that torch. But then the source says there was a shift between 56 and 58.
What happened?
More emphasis on incorporating science, focusing on the link between design, science, technology, trying to develop really rational manufacturing concepts for the times.
Okay, so a move towards a more systematic, research-driven approach.
Exactly. But maybe, ironically, that contributed to its end. By the late 60s, the government pulled funding. No research, no funding, the text quotes.
Ouch. So they felt it had become too theoretical, not producing the right kind of modern concepts for the times.
Seems like it. Plus, critiques of pure functionalism were emerging. Ecological concerns were starting. It closed in '68.
But despite closing, its influence was huge, right? Educational.
Immense. Ulm designers and students were key in setting up schools all over the world. Brazil, France, India, Mexico.
Wow, that's quite a legacy for a school that wasn't around that long. What made his model so exportable?
Probably that structured, methodological approach, combined with looking at the social and scientific side of design. It provided a strong framework people could adapt elsewhere. It trained a whole generation.
And its impact on product culture. Braun is the big example mentioned.
Right. Braun in Kronberg. Decisive influence on German design, unbroken tradition of modernism. People like Dieter Rams became icons of that functionalist look.
What was Braun's secret sauce then?
Rigorous functionalism, high-quality engineering, and that clear, understated look. Rams's 10 principles really capture it. Utility, honesty, timelessness, their products just became symbols of modern industrial design. And it wasn't just the products, was it? The text mentions corporate design.
Ah, yes, the whole package.
Braun really got the importance of a consistent visual identity. Products, packaging, ads, everything worked together. Built a super strong brand image for quality and modernism.
Okay, but then the backlash. The critique of functionalism starts to grow. People getting tired of mass-produced environments, feeling something was missing.
Exactly. Critics argued it ignored emotional, psychological needs. Mass production could feel sterile, impersonal, even oppressive for some. People wanted more expression, more playfulness, maybe something more human.
And that opened the door for postmodernism, or neo-modernism. The Italian Memphis group was a big influence in Germany, the text says.
What did that look like?
Well, postmodernism basically threw out the strict rules of modernism. It embraced color, ornament, historical references, irony, playfulness. Memphis especially was known for bold, unconventional stuff that really challenged good taste.
So by 1983, people are talking about the new shine of things, moving away from functionalist dogma, designers focusing on expression in things, blurring art and kitsch.
Yeah, and that Feeling Collage's Living Madness exhibition in Dusseldorf in '86 is highlighted as a peak moment for this new German design. Sounds pretty wild.
It does. It was like a deliberate embrace of the subjective, the emotional, even the provocative, celebrating a more individual, expressive approach.
Then, interestingly, the '90s see another shift. Design starts influencing art. Artists working on everyday objects, but with artistic intent.
Yeah, what's that about?
It reflects design gaining more, conceptual cred. Artists saw utility objects as a valid medium for expression, questioning that old hierarchy between fine art and design, exploring the everyday in new ways.
And you see this blurring in projects like the Prada shops by Rem Koolhaas or Herzog and de Meuron.
Right. Those weren't just shops. They were immersive environments, blending architecture, design, art, tech, cultural experiences, blurring lines between commerce and art installation.
At the same time, design is going global. Big agencies opening in Asia, European companies setting up offices abroad, California, for example.
What drove that?
Well, global markets, obviously, better communication, transport, and companies realizing they needed to understand diverse cultures and manufacturing capabilities to compete. A global presence became essential. Okay, let's hop over to Britain. The source stresses its huge role in the 19th, early 20th century industrial transformation. Gideon's mechanization takes command gets a mention.
Britain was really the engine room of the Industrial Revolution, right? Pioneering technologies, new ways of making things, that early lead-shaped industrial design thinking everywhere.
And this idea of Britishness in design emerges. Quality, durability, maybe a bit conservative. Clothing, cars.
You still see echoes of that, I think. Even with global trends, there's often a focus on craftsmanship, longevity, a kind of understated elegance in a lot of British design. It's a legacy.
The text also credits pioneers like FKK Henrien and Wolf Ohlens for their work in corporate design in Britain.
Yeah, they were really key in establishing corporate identity as a strategic thing, helping companies create a unified visual language, a brand image, shaping how organizations look to the outside world.
And this idea of system design, like the British Rail Design Unit, aiming for coherence across a massive organization.
Right. System design is about making all the pieces fit together visually and functionally. For British Rail, that meant everything from signs and train liveries to station designs, all creating one consistent brand experience.
Okay, back to Germany. Lots of examples of strong corporate design there. ERSO lighting, influenced by Odell Acher functional modernism. FSB metal fittings, also working with Acher. His impact seems huge.
Oh, definitely. Acher championed that clear, rational, consistent look. His work for EROO, FSB, it's like textbook application of modernist principles. Clarity, function, strong identity.
And we see Gardino working with Ulm, Jira's system design, Krupp's being functionally similar to Braun, Lamy pens having that consistent look. It seems like a real national characteristic almost, this focus on unified design language.
Absolutely. It ties into that German cultural emphasis on precision, engineering, well-designed functional products. Design wasn't an afterthought. It was core to a company's identity and success.
The list goes on. Low electronics, Tecta furniture keeping Bauhaus alive, Rimowa luggage, even brushes by Blind get a mention.
It shows how deep it went.
But by the turn of the 21st century, Germany is moving towards a more pluralistic interpretation. Why the change?
Well, globalization, new tech, changing tastes, all pushed towards more diversity, less strict dogma. That rigid functionalism started to loosen up, making way for more expressive, culturally nuanced stuff.
It's interesting to contrast that with the GDR, East Germany. Focus there was on standardized products for social needs. Aesthetics weren't the priority.
Pretty much. Design was driven by socialist ideals, function, affordability for the masses. Central planning and standardization often limited stylistic innovation compared to the West, though there were talented designers, of course.
Then Austria, more emphasis on craftsmanship, furniture, trying to blend purpose and form. That Gefühlskollegion exhibition in Linz in 1980 seems key, focusing on new iconography with people like Success involved.
Yeah, that exhibition signaled a shift in Austria towards more expression, less pure function, exploring emotional, cultural aspects, drawing on diverse influences beyond just modernism.
Switzerland, strong Werkbund influence, attention to detail, quality, collaboration between designers and industry like the railways, and Le Corbusier's Bauhaus-influenced architecture, a mix of precision and modernism.
That sums it up well. Swiss design often feels like meticulous craft meets functional elegance, meets a kind of quiet modernism, reflects that national reputation for precision and quality.
Okay, Italy. Global design dominance for a while, then a bit of a decline in the late 80s facing Asian competition. But Italian lifestyle and design communication was huge. Olivetti's deliberate design stands out.
Absolutely. Post-WWII, Italian design became synonymous with style, creativity, flair. Olivetti really understood the power of design across the whole company, not just products. Built that powerful made-in-Italy brand.
But stagnation hit in the 90s. Why?
More competition, especially from Asia and mass production.
Yeah.
Economic factors within Italy. And maybe just a temporary pause in really groundbreaking innovation after the heights of postmodernism.
The deep dive then sweeps through Spain, France, the Netherlands, Scandinavia, each with its unique flavor. It really shows how culture shapes design.
Totally. Scandinavian craft traditions, French postmodern flair, Dutch functionalism. Each region developed its own design language based on its history, culture, economy.
Then we get into the really deep stuff. Theories and methods. Philosophy Aristotle, Descartes. Semiotics Peirce, Saussure. Hermeneutics Gadamer. Sounds very academic. How does this actually affect a chair or a phone?
Well, these frameworks give designers tools to think about what they're doing. Semiotics helps you understand how objects communicate meaning so you can design them to send the message you want. Hermeneutics pushes you to understand the user's experience, how they interpret the object. It informs the tangible choices.
The Ulm School's focus on methodology comes up again, but also critiques of rigid methods and the rise of empirical research, usability testing.
Yeah, the field definitely became more self-aware, more analytical. A move towards more systematic, evidence-based design, not just relying on intuition or aesthetics, developing methods to make products more effective, easier to use.
And concepts like product language, products as messages, the role of lifestyle, identity. Objects aren't just tools, they're communicators.
Exactly. They carry cultural, social meanings. Designers became much more conscious of shaping those meanings. It affects form, materials, marketing, everything.
Finally, the dive hits microelectronics. Huge impact. The microchip, interaction design, interface design, the digital world. This feels like the fastest, most disruptive shift.
Oh, unquestionably. The digital revolution just changed the game completely. New kinds of products, new experiences, new challenges for designers in creating intuitive, engaging digital interfaces. Human-centered design becomes even more critical.
So wrapping this up, our journey through design history has been pretty epic. From craft to industry, through art movements, key schools like Bauhaus and Ulm, to the globalized digital present.
And hopefully you now have a much clearer sense of the strategic value, the cultural weight of design across all these different times and places.
Definitely. For me, some real aha moments were seeing how social and economic forces shape early design, realizing just how deep the Bauhaus influence runs, and tracking how design constantly responds to and shapes technology and culture. It's so much more than just making things look nice.
It truly is a powerful force shaping our world constantly.
So here's a final thought to leave you with. We're living through incredibly rapid technological change, increasing global connection. How will these forces keep reshaping product design? What new challenges and possibilities are emerging that we maybe can't even fully imagine yet? Something to keep an eye on: contemporary trends, innovative designers. They're building our future right now. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.